Hello, 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 and welcome to the RuCap. My name is Aaliyah Sky, and we are filling in for Mr. Alex Ringler, who is out getting his face peony line waxed today, so she couldn't be here. Let's go ahead and start off today's episode. Let's go around the circle, introduce ourselves, tell us where you're from. Let's go ahead and start with Russ.
Hi, I'm Russ White, co-founder, co-producer of Q Life Media, Q Life Magazine, and the International Drag Queen Database. Calling in from Las Vegas, Nevada, where it is 98 degrees today.
Oh, sweet Jesus, girl. I'm glad I'm not there. All right, girl, also.
But it's a dry heat.
But it's a dry heat.
Mr. Andrew. Mr. Andrew, introduce yourself.
Hello, so I can hear you. I'm Andrew. I am the Director of Development for the International Drag Queen Database, and I'm also calling from beautiful, sunny Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hi, Las Vegas. And then we also have with us Mr. Walter. Walter, introduce yourself.
It's the dreaded and feared Walter Kurtz, y'all, coming to you live from Don Quixote, home of the chandelier. And it is 56 degrees and rainy here in the world's most important and most celebrated metropolis.
Oh, girl, diverse weather across the country. Let's go back to Vegas. Introduce yourself, Mr. Garrett.
Hello, hello, hello. Garrett Patiani, calling in today from Las Vegas, also co-owner of everything Q Life and the Q Life family of brands, including the International Drag Queen Database, www.dragqueen.info.
Girl, check it out. You can see me, Miss Aaliyah Sky, featured there, so go look it up. Last but not least, we also have the fabulous Michael. Michael, tell us who you are and where you're calling from.
I am Michael Barbieri. I am a dining and entertainment writer and creator of Dragtastic. And I'm calling in from gray, chilly, rainy New York City.
Girl, so we've got the extreme heat of the desert and the extreme rain of the Northeast. And then, of course, my name is Aaliyah Sky, and I'm a fashion designer and drag queen, obviously. We are calling in from Los Angeles, California. And here the weather is just peachy keen with me. So I'm going to be happy with that. Let's go ahead and start off today's episode. We had last week a double save. And this week, we still have a ton of girls remaining. My goodness. So at the start of the episode, Miss Sugarcane made a really good point as they came back into the workroom. And she asked the other girls, now that the competition is so stiff, is there anything that they feel they could do to step their game up? So is there anything that we would like to see some of the remaining queens do or do more of or do less of? What do we think? Let's start with Michael.
The only thing I can really say is I would really like to see Silky just tone it down. Stop being so vindictive and pissy and, just get over yourself. That's all.
Girl, I completely agree with that. She needs to tone it down, reel it in. Mr. Garrett, what are your thoughts and opinions?
I would like to see Vanjie stop playing characters that are herself. I feel was that not her just playing herself again? Like, come on, do something outside of your character. Like, I don't.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would like to see her do something a little bit more refreshing. Let's get one more thought on this matter. Let's jump straight over to Andrew. What do you think, friend?
I actually disagree a little bit with what Michael was saying, but with Silky, it's not so much she needs to calm down, she needs to listen. That's the root of the problem. She's not listening to what other queens are telling her. She's not listening to what the judges are telling her. She's convinced she knows it all already, and that's that, and it's going to get her in trouble.
But that's part and parcel of toning it down.
Yeah.
Girl, she needs to reel it in. Reel it in. Girl, we're getting down to the bottom of the line now, and girl, all that attitude and personality, I think, is a little too much. So, with that being said, attitude and throwing that kind of business out there, we come to one of my personal favorite mini challenges, which is the reading challenge, because we all know that reading is fundamental. However, I know I have my opinions, but I would like to hear your opinions. We're going to start with you, Walter. What do you feel, or how do you feel that this season's reading challenge stacks up against previous seasons' reading challenges?
Well, I thought last night's reading challenge was a bit of a car crash, particularly ending it with Silky, who just went off into the stratosphere. But everybody, it was just frantic, except for Brooklyn, I thought, did a great job, but so many people, it just was frantic, and they just, it was out of control. It was out of control. But before I finish, one thing that we missed with last week's episode was to point out who knew Tony Hale was that fucking hot. Seriously,
Right?
now. Like, what was that? I didn't know who he was. I had to go look him up, and like the other photos that I saw of him on Google, it's like, girl, you've made a change, and it's all for the good. But okay, so we have our Tony Hale moment. I just thought it was out of control.
Tony Hale's about to get a free photo shoot.
Yeah, but now, what do you think, girl? You and me have been avid readers of other queens and people while standing outside of nightclubs. So tell me what your thoughts and opinions are about this season's read.
Me?
Yeah.
This season was a train wreck. There were a few good ones, but I don't think the girls know how to read anymore.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, they just and how much of that I wonder is being politically correct. How much of it is they get all their trash talking done in the workroom. So it's like when you go to do the read, you're not funny anymore. You've been overly dramatic or sensitive in the workroom,
And it becomes vindictive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
the whole point of reading is it has to be clever.
Yes.
And clever is an art. It's a particular type of humor that requires subtlety, and this particular group of queens, subtlety is not their métier at all.
Girl, I've always felt like the best reads are the reads that you say and they don't realize it's a read initially. And I think you are absolutely correct, Walter. I think there's the level of cleverness and a level of wittiness that one has to have in order to have a playful banter as far as reading without being offensive directly or without being hateful, but still sly.
And also a good
if that
spirit.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, girl, if you can't take a read, girl, if you can't, like, take a punch, girl, then obviously, girl, get out. Be done. Bye. So, all right, so that was our reading challenge for this season. I thought it was cute. I could have done without her. Unfortunately, I know it's a staple in every season. So, moving on. We come to our main challenge this week, which is yet another improv challenge, which I don't have a problem with. I kind of miss a little bit of the scripting challenges, but the improvs are not that bad. Let's start with Andrew. What were your thoughts of like the premise of the challenge? Not the challenge itself, but just like the premise, the idea of it.
I liked it. I love the improv ones because that's the opportunity for some queens to really shine that you weren't expecting, as we saw. I think the whole police, cops kind of themed was fun. It got them outside of the building. We rarely get to see them like outside running around, so that was a little refreshing change of scenery for me. And yeah, I was excited for it.
See, Miss Andrew live in the desert. She likes seeing people in sunlight, girl. All the rays. Let's move on to Mr. Garrett. So, of course, on our main challenge this week, we had the fantastic Fortune, how do you say it? Feimster? Fortune Feimster,
Yeah.
which I know her from, God, what is that talk show? Chelsea Handler.
Yeah.
Love her. We also have the sexy and gorgeous Mr. Cheyenne Jackson. Garrett, I know you're a fan, so tell me, like, what are your thoughts of having them two as, like, participants in the challenge this week?
Well, growing up in a small town in Nevada, Reno 911 is one of my favorite shows, and this challenge reminded me a lot of Reno 911. It's just hilarious, kind of like scripted reality cop series, and I thought that it was a lot of fun. I don't know. I found myself laughing quite a bit. Maybe it's because it reminded me so much of that show. Fortune Feimster is a hilarious person. We know her in real life. She's so nice and so funny. And of course, yeah, I would have been acting the same way, trying to basically molest him the whole time with like wrapping my legs around. I would have been Brooklyn Heights for sure.
You've been living the Brooklyn fantasy, girl. Just
Yeah.
spreading all over.
Not as flexible, but trying.
Girl would have tried. She would have put her back out, but she would have tried.
Helium heels would have been in the house.
For those of you who don't know, helium heels are bottoms whose legs go straight into the air, like Mr. Russ White.
Hi.
Hi, Ron. So, okay, so that's cute and whatnot. So, kind of going back right before the challenge where Brooklyn won the reading challenge, she did pair off all the queens, and of course there was a few things that were said about her choice in pairings. Michael, what my question for you, my friend, is do you feel like Brooklyn's pairings of the girls were more strategic for her specifically? Because she does say it. And do you feel like any of the other girls, it worked out for them being kind of partnered with a bigger personality versus a smaller personality?
I think it worked out in favor of the bigger personalities. You know what I mean? I thought the pairings were balanced. I liked the pairings, but too often the lesser big personality, you know, I don't want to say small personality because they're not, but the more demure ones were a little overshadowed.
I would agree with that. Walter, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, to live up to my moniker as being the crank of the cast, I hated it. I thought it was loud. I thought it was frenetic. I thought everybody was flailing all over the place. It was just messy. And it was like, no, be louder. No, louder. You'll be funnier if you're louder. And I thought Brooklyn did the best because he actually had some catchphrases. I am completely, utterly over Silky because there's one thing that she can do. I mean, yes, she does it well in small bites, but to just see that again and again and again, it's boring and tedious. And this is jumping ahead ever so slightly. When you have the guest judges who haven't seen her for the rest of the season, the first time you see her, you think, oh, she's great. She's funny. She's got charisma. She's stealing the show and all of that. And it's like, yeah, bitch, you sit through a whole season of this and see if you feel the same way about Silky at the end. Yeah, she is completely not a versatile queen. And I can only take her in bits at this point. I'm over her officially.
I wrote down exactly the same thing.
Now, did anybody else notice during the rigging challenge as well that like it kind of rubbed RuPaul a little bit too? I think it was really her first time seeing just how loud and obnoxious she really is.
Yeah, because the monster she unleashed.
Yeah.
Like, take your time. Take your time.
She makes for good TV though, so I mean, not good TV for me, but for some people out there. So the main challenge was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it myself as well. I could see some sort of weird TV spinoff on it because, you know, they're all fake anyway. But that leads us to our runway, which nobody here has got the face bikini on but me, so shame.
Which you, by the way, you look fabulous.
Thanks, girl. We did it this morning. We drew these lashes ourselves.
Can't wait to see you on the show.
Well, one day, girl. If not, girl, we'll still be here, so you can still catch me online, girl. So let's talk about our runway looks this week. Of course, the challenge was face bikini, which for those of you who don't know is basically just covering. It features only the eyes and the mouth. So what do we think about this week's runway? Andrew, let's start with you, my friend.
I liked it. One of my favorite elements of drag, though, is hair. Wigs and big hair, which we kind of got deprived of this episode. So I was a little sad about that. Like, I think you still could have done the face bikini with hair. Just none of them really chose to do that so much. But I think they looked good. I agree that, you know, Plastique kind of took a cop out with just the little strappies under her eye and her face thong. But overall it was good. Brooklyn's was stunningly amazing. Like every time she walked off that stage,
yeah, she's, girl, as a designer, I gotta say, like, she's got it together. This week I was, girl, where do you think this came from? We was like, we're gonna do the animal print, we're gonna do the black and gold. I'm here for it. Russ, what did you think about this week's runway?
I thought it was fun, but Sugar just blew me away. That was such a gorgeous gown, so intricate. And I forget who the judge was that said if it looks uncomfortable, it's probably really good.
Cheyenne.
Yeah. Cheyenne said that. Yeah, Cheyenne said. Cheyenne just continues to impress me every season, too. He and Fortune had a blast doing that bit. But he's very eloquent. He's very sharp when he's critiquing as a judge. And my favorite catchphrase from him last night, Cooter Slam.
Said, can we say that? RuPaul said, I want to say it. Cooter Slam. Russ, is there any point in the future that I'm going to get to see you do a Cooter Slam somewhere?
You can see a Cooter Slam here nightly.
Okay. All right, girl. We're going to leave that up
It's
to
just
you.
not
Good, but you don't want to.
But you don't want to.
Let's jump this over to Michael Barbieri. What did you think about this week's Fun Rhyme?
I thought there were a lot of good looks. I mean, I loved Sugar. I thought Brooklyn was phenomenal. I loved Nina. Nina, to me, was most reminiscent of Lee Bowery.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And Evie, I thought Evie's look was really interesting. It was very weird and very her, but it also reminded me a lot of Acid Betty's look. They did a neon or day glow challenge, and Acid Betty had big green neon eyelashes, and it was very reminiscent of that, but not in a bad way. I liked it.
Was anybody else getting high fashion gremlins from her at all? Was that just me? Because I was kind of there for it. I was like, all right, girl, with these ginormous lips. So of course the runway was super cute. I really, really liked it. However, there was one thing that kind of bothered me a little bit, and it was the fact that Silky thought it was okay to just do a simple lip. Now you can't see, but underneath this is like a fuller beat than just a lip. So what do we feel about Queen? Because it's not the first time. We saw Valentina do it in All Stars. And girl, when she did the funeral, it had no eye makeup on whatsoever. What do we feel about Queens going onto the main stage of a drag competition and not painting a mug, regardless of what's being seen or not? Do we have thoughts? Do we have opinions on it?
My big question was, did we think that Plastique knew she was going to lip sync this week, so she just made it easier to have full face during the lip sync?
I don't know, because I mean, Sugarcane thought she was going to lip sync too, and she still went ham. So,
and yet Nina did full polka dot face under the full polka dot face skinny.
No, man. Garrett, what's your thoughts about Queens not like going?
I was actually really hoping that RuPaul, just to teach her a lesson, chose her in the bottom two, just to be like, take off your mask and lip sync with no face on. Like, that would have been my wish. And I think it was a perfect opportunity to like let it be known to like, do not get lazy on this show. Do not think that you're too good to be in the bottom two. Like, don't do that. That's what I would have done if I were the producers or Ru.
One thing, the irony got me was they sat and praised Silky for how hilarious she was and how just it was so real and she could have her own TV show and on and on and on. She's so amazing being Silky. And then they go to Sugar, and Sugar had to compete with that, which is an impossibility for anybody. And then the last thing that they said about Sugar was, but you know what? We really didn't see a character. We just saw Sugar being Sugar. And I thought, okay, so you're criticizing Sugar for being Sugar, but praising Silky for being Silky in every single challenge. Did they miss the irony, the contradiction of those two things? Just, that pissed me off.
I know, this season's had a lot of that too, with Plastique doing her like kind of Asian bit through and through. Like this season, I have to admit, I don't see as much growth as I did in previous seasons for the Queens, because I am seeing a lot of like Vanjie being Vanjie, Silky being Silky. You know what I mean? I have to say, at least I think Sugarcane has done more. She's grown on me as each week goes by, where like someone like Silky has got on my nerves, Vanjie's just bored me. So,
Miss Plastique, though, the lie of all lies, trying to say that your real voice is your character voice.
Girl, did you see
Like,
her
hello,
foot?
we all have ears. We can hear you, what your real voice sounds like. What is that? That was like the weirdest lie ever. I was like, that's a compulsive liar.
I love Michelle. She was like, no, this is your voice.
Yeah. Like,
Girl, what the hell are you talking about? That's so funny. So, okay, so the runway was cute. We all agree.
I have a question before we move on.
Yeah.
Last season, so this whole challenge was introduced with Ru from her face kini last season.
Her iconic look.
Her iconic look that was the scandal episode that we thought maybe that's not Ru.
It was a Ru stand-in. It
was the Ru
Raja.
stand-in. And why wouldn't Ru have come out in a face kini this episode?
That's a good thought. That's a good pondering. Probably because last time everyone thought it wasn't her, so they said don't do it no more.
she'd take it off. She should have like unmasked herself.
And it just been lips. That'd been hilarious. So moving on. So we came to our tops and our bottoms of the week. So in the top we have Miss Akira Davenport, we have Brooklyn Heights, and we also have Silky Nutmeg Ganache. In the bottoms we had Sugar Cane, Miss Vanjie, and Plastique Tiara. Do we agree with the tops and the bottoms this week? Walter, you're shaking your head. Let's start with you.
Well, I agree with, I think what Garrett said was I would have put Silky in the bottom purely based upon lack of versatility, and she was lazy on the runway. And I would have made her lip sync against somebody else. But I totally agreed ultimately that Vanjie and Plastique should be in the bottom, and the people who are in the top, I agree, except for Silky, of course. I agreed with that. I thought Akira's was great. It was nice to see her in something other than a ball gown.
So true. Michael, what are your thoughts? Mr. Michael Barbieri.
Oh, no, yeah. I don't know. Go to someone else. I'm a little flummoxed right now.
All right, let's jump over to Andrew because I know she's a super fan like me. Andrew, what did you think?
I was living for Akira this whole episode, and I think she deserved that win. She deserved to be in the top. Her runway wasn't necessarily my favorite, but her overall package was just the best for me. Because she has been that poised pageant queen this whole time, and she really let loose, and it worked. Both with her outfit on the runway and in the challenge. I do think maybe Evie should have been in the top instead of Silky, though, instead of just Safe. But the bottoms, I definitely agree with, minus maybe Suga, because I did think she did a good job. Like, I was laughing at her challenge. That runway should have saved her. I mean, it's kind of did because she didn't lip sync, but for the most part, I agree. The top twos and the bottom, I agree.
Yeah, but I think we agree. I think the judges had a pretty good call. I do agree with Garrett, though. I think it would have been just to kind of make an example of any other future queen. They should have thrown Silky down into the bottom because the runway look was a mess. Girl, that cockroach or fly. I'm sorry.
Without wings.
Girl.
The fly without wings. It's a cockroach.
She looked like a big old water bug, Rich, just coming out. Girl, go home. So, okay, so we have our lip sync, and of course our lip sync is Miss Vanjie, and we also have Plastique Tiara. I'm gonna start off by just acknowledging, did anybody else notice that her look on the runway and for the lip sync looked awfully familiar to Aja's look from her season when she went home? Did anybody else notice that, or is that just I'm a super fan? Right. Look it up. If you don't recognize it, look it up. Look up Aja going home.
Which one? All Stars or her first season?
Her first season, and she's got a big old blonde curly wig on, and her outfit looked almost identical. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But what do we think of the lip sync itself? I personally thought that Plastique didn't do enough. I thought she was more a stand and point kind of queen. You know those girls, they just stand and point to things. They don't actually do nothing. So, girl, and then she also threw in the Alyssa Edwards foot on the back of the thing. I was like, good try, girl, but go home. So what do we think about the actual lip sync? Michael, let's start with you on this one.
Okay. I actually, at one point, I really thought Plastique had it. I thought that she was emoting. She was lip syncing, very, very well. And I saw a lot of, even though it was a plastic ponytail, I saw a lot of ponytail flailing from Vanjie. And I keep thinking about, what Walter says about, flipping the hair and whipping the hair around is just a way to cover not knowing the lyrics. I really thought at one point that Plastique had it.
Did you though? You did. Okay. I didn't at all.
I thought so too.
Really?
I don't know how Vanjie had to be a strategic save because you couldn't make out the lips in that outfit. So how do you know she did a good lip sync? And that's my theory around Plastique knowing she was going to lip sync, because it was quickly, she didn't even keep her straps on. Those came off and you got full on face. Whereas with Vanjie, it was, can you see my lips moving through the hole here?
Now I recognize those lips.
Her futuristic sex robot. Girl, okay. Garrett, what were your thoughts?
Well, after last week's lip sync, I don't think anything is going to like compare. So I'm just kind of like, all right, well, whoever has to go up against those two in the future, it doesn't really matter. They're going to get knocked out. If that's the way that they're going to have to lip sync for their life compared to what I know is going to have to be lip synced against later, like they're both going to be gone anyway. So it doesn't really matter the order.
This is true. So
but it was fun to watch them. It was nice to see like a rap kind of song. I would be terrible at that. I feel like I could never learn any sort of like rap music. So the fact that they both were able to like lip sync it as good as they did.
That actually leads me to a really good question. And I saw a World of Wonder post on this recently, and they were asking fans out there. And I am curious to know what your thoughts and opinions would be. A, did anyone know the song? I did, because as a drag queen, of course, I make it my business to know any female artist. But that was by Fantasia Barrino. She was the winner of American Idol, like 4 or 5 or whatever season. Is there? Yeah, but like, A, did you know the song? And B, is there any song that you would love to see lip sync on RuPaul? Let's start with Russ. Looks like she's thinking. So we'll start with Andrew, because I feel like you probably have had time to think about this in the past.
I would love them to do You Haven't Seen the Last of Me from Burlesque. I think that's just a good, like, save me, I'm worthy, I'm coming back, I'm going to show you type of lip sync song. And I think the queens do really good things with it too.
Super cute. Okay, I can see that. Walter, what about you? Do you have any songs that you would like to see lip synced on the show?
Well, I'm a big Fantasia fan, but that must be from the album, her most recent album, which I did not like.
That was her first album.
That song's not on her first album. It's on her first album? I have her first album.
That's actually the name of her album too. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I thought the song was I thought the song was awful, and I like, what are you going to do with that? Part of making a successful lip sync is having something really good to work with. And last week they were lucky because it was telling a story and it had highs and lows dramatically in the with it. So they were all kind of fighting against everything. And I also agree, I thought that Plastique did a little bit better job than Vanjie. But as to the question, what song should they do?
Yeah.
I would like to see them stand still and both do Streisand's My Man.
Oh. Okay, that'd be
because you can't do any fucking tricks with that.
Yeah.
Sell that fucking song.
Girl, emote. Live the emote.
I'll
Michael,
go
what
next.
about you? Is there any songs that you could think of that would be fun on Drag Race?
Well, I would love to see them go back and teach some of these young queens where this all came from. You know, go to Streisand, like Walter said. Streisand doing "Don't Rain on My Parade," or Bette Midler doing "In These Shoes," which would be a great drag song. But yeah, go back to the real classic drag divas.
Girl, the originals. So I have to say, because I saw that post, I put on there that I think they should do Sherry Ellis's "The Name Game." You know that song? I think that'd be really cute. You got to know the words, girl.
Is that the Bo Bana Fofana
Yeah.
song?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Walter, Bobo, Walter, all that fun stuff. We ain't doing it right now.
RuPaul,
But it's a cute song. So,
I figured
so,
out
all right,
mine. I figured out mine.
Oh, what is it? What is it, Russ?
Big spender.
Hey,
Oh.
Kind of like same justification as Walter. It's like you can't do the hair flips and the death drops with that. You got to know the words, and that one you have to enunciate everything.
And you have to sell it.
You have to sell it.
Well, then actually, let's go to Garrett, because I would be curious, because I think you're the last one to not answer that question. So Garrett, what song would you like to see?
I would like to see some like a duet between like Reba McEntire, Kelly Clarkson, or like the one where they're fighting over the man, or Kelly Clarkson's like A Moment Like This. I don't know, something like, again, yeah, like where glitter could fall down from the stage when somebody wins. I don't know, like,
Oh, girl.
like a production.
Or just shallow.
Well, then that concludes our episode. So I did want to finish off, because now that we're down to our last 7 girls of the season, we ask this usually every episode. And the start of this season was kind of hard. There was 15 queens. I think most all of our picks are still in the competition. But let's start with you, Russ. Who do you want to see in the top 4 for this season?
Brooklyn, Sugar, Evie, and it's a toss-up between Akira and Nina.
Okay, fair enough. Walter, what do you think?
Well, what I want and what will probably be are 2 different things. What I think will be is going to be definitely Brooklyn and Evie, along with Silky and Akira.
Oh, Andrew, your top 4 would be?
Suga, Akira.
Who
I
were the
missed the first 2.
Evie, Brooklyn. Evie and
Okay. Oh, she said them so quick. Mr. Michael, what is your top 4 picks for the season?
Brooklyn, Sugar, Evie, and again, yes, a toss up between Akira and Nina. That is.
All right, that leaves Garrett. Who are your top 4, Garrett?
One of my favorite drag queens is Nina. So I'd like to see her in the top 4. I don't think she'd be able to maybe out lip sync some of the others, so I'm not sure if she'll make it to the top. I also really like Akira did a good job, so I think she's a frontline contender. Brooklyn and probably Evie, if I had to pick 4. Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like pretty much Brooklyn and Evie are shoe-ins, and everybody else is kind of up in the air. Well, my top 4, of course, will be Brooklyn, Evie, Akira, and Silky. Although I don't want Silky, but I feel like they will put her in top 4. So, of course, we're not going to know that until the last few episodes air. So, of course, we're going to have to wait, like the rest of the world, till next Thursday, where hopefully we'll see a double elimination soon. Hopefully we'll see some other things change it up this season, but that's yet to be seen. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and move on with our week. I know we all got busy things to do. So, for all those viewing out there, make sure to catch us each and every week. Catch your Drag Race, catch your Untucked. And then check out the Drag Queen database. See me. If you're a queen, go ahead and submit your form. Get your information out there so your fans can find you. Of course, if y'all have questions or whatnot, just search up Drag Queen database. Anybody in the show can tell you. Mr. Andrew, what's the exact link?
dragqueen.info, and you can follow us on all social media, dragqueendb.
Boom. Perfect. All right. Well, until next week, that is going to be it for us. So, signing out, this is Aaliyah Sky. Thank you, everyone. Have a good week. Goodbye.
Bye.